I want to talk about meditation because it's something that should be really simple, but it always seems to get so overcomplicated by everybody that's out there talking about it. It's something that just feels like we shouldn't even need to talk about, but we've become so disconnected from ourselves that we need a lesson in how to be with ourselves. That's all I want to think of it as. Like, it's not, there's no technique, there's no crazy thing that you've got to do. You don't have to open your third eye chakra or whatever new age people are trying to tell you. If you want to overcomplicate something that should be really simple, the best thing you could ever do is go and talk to a new ager. And if you want to overcomplicate something that's already been overcomplicated, go and talk to an anti-new ager, because they're just wasting their time trying to debunk a bunch of shit that was made up by a bunch of Fruit Loops anyway. So, oh man, how many triggers are in that? Because you subscribe to this stuff, right? I've subscribed to different things, and there's truth in all of these spiritual paths that you can walk. But, like, really, the return on investment is at its highest when we keep things simple, when we're not having to subscribe to all these crazy narratives and spiritual ways of interpreting the world. Like, just get back to you. And that's what we don't do. We actually use all of that stuff to bypass ourselves, like, so that we don't have to sit with ourselves. We need this fairy tale fantasy blockbuster Marvel movie of a spirituality to get away from just simply sitting here and feeling how we're feeling and thinking what we're thinking, because it's just too uncomfortable, because we've avoided it for so long. The longer that we avoid it, I've said it before, like, it's like if you leave the dishes and you left them for like a week, you know what that's like. But if you left it for your entire lifetime and you just kept producing more dirty dishes and you'd never done them, you would never want to do them. And that's all it is. It's just like, you got to like go through all of the accumulated crap that you've fed into your brain, which has been accelerated by the technological era. I read once, like, and this was years ago, so it's probably even more ridiculous now, but a 7-year-old boy now has absorbed more information thanks to technology than a 70-year-old man would have at his age, if that makes sense. And I'm paraphrasing it and it could be wrong, but you get the idea. Like, we're consuming so much information now that a 7-year-old has had a lifetime worth of experience and it's just bombarding us. So, this comes up a lot. There's a reason why I'm talking about this, because people are always talking about meditation, and just, I really want people to understand that it's so simple. Like, just all it is a practice of making time to be with yourself. And I mean be with yourself, like, not on your phone, not reading a book. I guess, like, going for a walk or going for a swim, but like just limiting the amount of information that's coming into your brain so that you can sort of catch up with yourself and you can do those mental dishes. Like, you can actually clean up in there, because all we seem to be doing is just consuming and consuming and consuming and making more and more mess in our minds. And then, like I said, we subscribe to all of these crazy, outlandish spiritual narratives that are being distorted out of their original forms by our own, like, fantasies. Like, there's like all of these like deep, esoteric forms of knowledge that have just been distorted out of their original forms and turned into nonsense, and then we're subscribing to it. We don't even know what we're subscribing to, because we heard it from some dude on the internet that's like taken 50 different things and bunched them all together and made his own philosophy out of it. And I guess we're all kind of like automatically doing that anyway, because we're trying to make sense of the world and we're taking a bit from over here, a bit from over there, and we're kind of making our own model of reality. But, like, what could be more important than just getting back to being comfortable with yourself? And yeah, I don't know, like, this is just my thoughts and feelings in the present moment. not intended to be advice or guidance, but this is like what's coming up, because I'm just seeing a lot of people waste a lot of their own time and in the pursuit of bettering themselves. So the purpose for me, or the benefits for me that I've found through what people would call meditation, which I would just call being, is like, because there isn't so much clutter in my mind of like unfinished business type stuff, like I'm actually right here where I need to be. And it's like, you always hear like be in the present moment and all these cliches, but it's like true. Like the more you can actually be where you are, and you can engage with the person in front of you or the task in front of you or whatever it is that you need to be here for, the better you're going to do it. And the more comfortable you are in your own skin, the better your results are going to be in every aspect of your life. If I've got all of this unresolved emotional turbulence and trauma and thoughts of all these different things that I need to get done, and this infinite to-do list of nonsense that like I haven't even really checked if, like, the big insight that you get when you start actually creating space to just be is like you cross 90% of the things off your to-do list that you thought were really important, and then you have all this extra time, and then you're like, oh, I really didn't need to be doing any of that stuff, but I just convinced, like, I hadn't really checked if it was important with myself. I hadn't checked if I thought that it mattered. So I was just kind of doing it, and I kept doing it, and I've just been adding more and more things to this infinite to-do list, and never actually checking in with myself and going, you know what, does this still matter to me? Or do I want to try something different? And we just keep adding to the program. It's like another metaphor that's coming to my awareness right now is like having like a computer, and you just keep downloading software for it and downloading all these programs. Like, oh, I need to learn how to cook, so I'll download this cooking program. Like, but like just everything, all this, and just like, oh, I'm interested in that. Like, I want to learn this, I want to learn that, I want to do all these things. We download all these programs, and your desktop's like full of icons to the point where you're like, oh, I want to do something really simple, like cook a spaghetti bolognese, but you can't even see where the program is on your desktop to do spaghetti bolognese anymore, because it's just like stacked all these icons on top of each other. But like as you be with yourself, you make that time for yourself, just like you would with your actual desktop. You go along and you go, I don't really use that anymore. Uninstall, uninstall, uninstall. And then you end up with like this really clean desktop. You know where everything is. You know, this is how I cook spaghetti bolognese. Like, that's such a silly example, but you know what I mean. And that's what meditation is really good for. It's just like cleaning up that desktop, or the other metaphor is like doing the mental dishes. Like, you can really start to see how simple it really is. And I guess the first objection, the major objection that everybody has when you start this kind of practice is like, it's a waste of time. Like, or can't I just like multitask, or like, of course I'm just going to organize all that stuff subconsciously or automatically, but you don't, like, or maybe you do, but you do it a lot faster and a lot more efficiently if you actually create space to be with yourself and check out what's going on inside of you, and have that as the only task that's running. Back to the computer metaphor, like if you say you want to do like a virus scan, like you open up your antivirus and you run the scan, but you're also trying to play a really complex video game, and you're playing music, and you've got YouTube videos going. Like, I don't know why you'd be doing all this stuff, but you've got like all these other things running. The scan that's going through all of your files to find out what's slowing your computer down or creating problems or viruses or whatever, it's going to run so slow and so inefficient. Whereas if you just run the scan and you walk away and you don't use the computer for anything else, it's going to be done in 5 minutes, and you're going to have a much better result. That's just another strange metaphor. I'm playing with strange metaphors because why not? It might just be the thing that like gives somebody the insight. But I also watched a video recently, one of my own videos from a long time ago, and it's like triggered off why I want to make this one, where I was talking about like starting a meditation practice, and I wanted to like revisit it. because I feel like I only just scratched the surface. But in that one, the thing that I did like about it was when I gave some practical examples of like why meditation would make you a total boss. And one of the examples is like a job interview. You go in for your job interview, and if you're comfortable with yourself and you can meditate for 20 minutes, you can just sit and be for 20 minutes and just watch what's going on in your own mind and use that time to organize your thoughts. And you go in for a job interview, you sit down and you do that, and there's like everybody else that's come in for the job interview, they come in and they're really uncomfortable in their own skin and they can't sit with themselves and they're on their phones checking shit. They're really disconnected from themselves. They're really irritated and anxious and paranoid about like, oh, what could go wrong and all of that. And they're going through all that stuff. And you're just like sitting there doing the opposite. They're working themselves up into a tizzy. Like they're going to walk into that interview more nervous than they were when they first arrived. Whereas you're working through all of the nerves. You're working through the anxiety. You're even going beyond. You're not just like letting go of the stuff that's negative. You're actually creating something positive in that moment. You're thinking, if he asks me this, then I'm going to answer like that. And like, you know, I remember this company is really into doing business this particular way. So I'm going to make sure that I start the conversation indicating that I'm aware of that. And like because you've created this practice of actually using your brain, like, or just using your awareness. Let's not even call it your brain, because we're aware that, you know, there's more neurons in your gut than there is in your brain and things like that. And your heart, and like there's like neurons through everything, and like it's just our whole being is like a interconnected organism, and we've got this like limiting belief that everything's going on in our brains. But like, without even getting into that, like we're actually using our vehicle to do something proactive and positive and prepare ourselves in a positive way, instead of just running all these old programs that are generating anxiety and frustration, irritation, like what's going to happen, fear. Like we go in the opposite direction. I've said before in another context, like you're either digging your hole deeper of like problems, or you're scaling your way out. Like you have those two options. Or like another way to put it is like you're either getting better, you're getting worse, or you stay the same. And this is another paraphrased quote, but like it takes effort to stay the same and it takes effort to get better. But if you don't apply any energy and awareness to things, you're going to get worse. So like this is the most fundamental area of your life that you need to put in effort, because you don't want to spend your whole life letting those mental dishes continue to get worse, because the worse it gets, the less you're going to want to do it. Whereas like as soon as you start, like if you even did like one dish rack worth of dishes a day, at least you're making the problem better. And even if your house is still full of dishes, like your brain is still full of mental dishes, you're going to feel better every day because you know that it's not getting worse. And that's like such a key to all personal development, like especially for people that I'm really targeting as my target audience, people who aren't like already like have the privileged head start, like being taught all the right lessons and had all the financial support and emotional support and just being given like this really good start in life. People who actually had like the shittest start in life, that's the kind of people that I'm talking to. People who have let their mental dishes stack up for like 30, 40 years and they're like, oh fuck, I actually want to do something about this now, but there's no how-to guide for how to start sorting your life out when you've already fucked it up for 40 years straight, you know? Not to be too hectic with that, but like, you know, there's always a way to start working on yourself. And one of the biggest insights that you could ever have, if this actually lands in your awareness, is as soon as you start to make it better and it's not getting worse, you will feel better. Like it will feel as good as you are imagining that it's impossible to feel, because like you think like, I'll never be where I want to be. But as soon as you're on your way there, that's actually psychologically, this is a thing that I've read in a bunch of different studies and I'm just putting it all together into this insight right now. Like it's psychologically more rewarding to be on your way to your goal than to achieve your goal. And in fact, a bunch of studies and different things that are out there say, and that we're just making up narratives in the present moment. Remember, not advice or guidance. I'm just talking what's coming into my awareness. But yeah, once you reach your goal, it's actually, it doesn't feel good. And if it does, it doesn't feel good long, because now you don't have the motivation. As soon as you reach your goal, all of the meaning and motivation associated with that journey is gone, and then you need a new goal. So it's actually like just moving towards the goal, no matter how fast or how slow you're doing it, is the thing that feels good to us. So all of these insights together, I want you to start meditating. I want more people to start like, and the reason why I'm like not using the word meditating over and over again is because I understand that it's been like it doesn't mean the same thing to everybody. What I mean is be with yourself and be comfortable with yourself and start to process what's already inside of your awareness. But like other people mean different things when they say meditation. Yeah, it's probably a half-finished insight lurking here that like I might realize after the video, or you may have already had, or who knows. We're all applying our own meaning to everything that we're experiencing. So everybody's actually watching a different video right now. Have you ever thought about that? What you think that you're receiving and what I think I'm transmitting are two different things. And then the person that's watching this in another country with totally different background and experiences and traumas and things that they've researched, like they're hearing totally different message to all of it. Like what you're receiving and what I think I'm transmitting, they've got their own thing going on, and that's like, it's so diverse, like all of the possibilities that emerge from these journals, and I'm only just beginning to see that, and the learning that comes from those connections in all those different directions of like, this is what this person receives, and then maybe they leave a comment or they send me an email or they even do a video response, and I'm like, oh whoa, so that's what you received. So I'm actually learning from what I believed I was transmitting. Now I'm receiving something back that's actually making me think deeper about the original insight that I thought that I was sharing. And you know, I think, yeah, the further I go with this video journaling journey, the more I realize like how much value could potentially emerge. And it's not just because I'm really smart or like I've figured all this stuff out. It's because I'm fostering this genuine curiosity and this genuine willingness to express myself and be heard and start a conversation and create connections, and then all of these things are emerging. And another thing I will say on this topic of like learning how to be with yourself, because it feels relevant in the present, because I've just started sharing the Take Action Tuesdays challenges at the time of this recording. Recording yourself in this fashion is an incredible way to get in touch with what's actually going on in your mind, because it eliminates a lot of that self-deception where you tell yourself that you've got all your shit together and you know what's going on in your mind. As soon as you turn a camera on and you try to string together 20 minutes of coherent thought, like that's when you'll find out about yourself. Because the first 15 minutes might just be, man, I feel uncomfortable right now just because I've actually put this camera on myself, and now I actually need to express who I am in this moment, and I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to be heard or seen even by my own camera that's recording myself. Like I don't want to see myself. I don't want to see myself. That comes up so often when I watch people exploring this. If you got anything out of this video, click the like button for me, leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already.